good afternoon. We are at Ocmulgee National Monument, just outside of Macon, Georgia. We are going to have an adventure today. Are you ready?
17,000 years of continuous human habitation. That's a long time. A lot of life and death. Taking a turn through the lobby, I can't help but to consider the bigger questions. How did we get here? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? But we are going nowhere. Lost in the museum, suffering from amnesia, stumbling about, looking for the custodian in charge of the lost and found. The repository of forgotten human history. We'd like to think we've figured it all out. We pass on the same story that was passed on to us, without once questioning the author's motivation. Such hubris, such a willful lack of curiosity. Mammoth-obsessed Francophile Thomas Jefferson performed the first American archaeological dig on a mound in Virginia. Did he discover a cache of giant skeletons? And are they hidden away in the Smithsonian? Did advanced civilizations exist before the last ice age? Did they learn levitation from Anunnaki extraterrestrials? I'm not inclined towards ancient alien conspiracies. The mounds are a mysterious place. There is something more than what is shown here in the museum presentation. The connection between the Mississippian culture and the Mayan seems plain, superficially speaking, but I wonder how much can be supported historically. Broken pottery, tools and toys, each of them has their own small history. The eyes of the human and animal figures, they've seen things, but still, they keep their secrets. One of my favorite artifacts is a headpiece composed of copper fins and cougar fangs. That's what the label would have you believe anyways. But I imagine it all comes from a very different creature. The amphibious shellback lion. Hunted to extinction. In an era where facts are slippery and downright subjective, I challenge you to prove me wrong. But I don't know. There has got to be something more to this. I'm seeing it all out of context. Each of these objects, now behind glass, were once held by living cans. They are part of a culture, mysterious to us now. Outside the museum, there are the remains of a city. Sometime in the mid-16th century, it collapsed. What happened here? Today I propose to set aside the books and walk away from the museum labels. They're useful, of course, but if I learn anything today, I hope it will be from the birdsong, the wildflowers, and the dirt. The path before me is enchanting. Symmetrically sublime. It dips down low, quietly crossing over a creek, and then, flanked by tall trees on either side, climbs dramatically up a hill. The scene presents itself like a cross between a runway and a gate to another dimension. The vanishing point is our destination, the first of the Indian mounds, the Earth Lodge. The sky hasn't decided what it wants to do today. One minute it looks like it wants to storm, and the next, the sun blasts down, bathing everything in golden light. The beauty is only heightened by contrast. It is a good day to be alive and outside, if we can hold back the rain. The Earth Lodge is a modern reconstruction. It was found burnt down and collapsed, intentionally destroyed. After the Spanish passed through, leaving in their wake pestilence and death, perhaps the old gods no longer held as much currency as they once had. Something of the old magic remains. I feel it anyways. There are spirits here.
Here we are, inside of the Earth Lodge, fantastically preserved. This is where the elite of the society and the priests would gather together and hold their mysterious black tea ceremony.
Against the back wall is a raised platform, the shape of an eagle. This would be where the chief and high priest would sit. Everyone else would sit with their backs against the wall in a circle surrounding the fire. The black drink would be served warm in a conch shell. Black drink is a caffeinated tea derived from the leaves of the yaupon holly, a tree indigenous to the coastal regions of the American Southeast. Yaupon tea could be drunk recreationally, but other ingredients would be added for ceremonial purposes, the details of which remain a mystery.
All right, back into the light. A lot of train noise out here. This is a bit unfortunate, but I'm sure the trains will go away here in just a little bit and we can have some quiet, listen to some birds on our walking trails. This is the Cornfield Mound and some prehistoric trenches. So many mounds and artifacts and cool places to see out here. A lot of walking trails.
Let's go for a walk. It's a warm afternoon, and I hear the wind blow gently through the grass. I hear the scuffled steps on the path ahead, and I hear laughter. It's the sound of happiness, calm. I'm happy to see students on a field trip, It is a reminder that this was once a thriving city. It helps me better to imagine what this place must have sounded like once upon a time, so long ago. What were their costumes? What games did they play? As peaceful as this place is, or rather as it can be, the train isn't blasting its way through the park, I still can't help but think of the bad time the Spanish passed through the land. The De Soto expedition. They were not interested in trading partners. They were only interested in conquest and gold. Every time De Soto met with a new group of natives, he would deliver this prepared message.
You and all your lands now to belong to the Spanish crown. You are to pledge your allegiance to Spain and accept the Catholic faith. So you refuse, with the aid of God, we will enter your land against you with force, and will make war in every place and by every means we can and are able. We will take you and your wives and children and make them slaves and do you all the harm and evil we can.
What a beautiful trail.
There's always something melancholic about a passing train. Come and go, it left behind. At Ocmulgee, however, it takes on a whole new meaning. After the fall of the Mississippian culture, the survivors coalesced with peoples migrating from Mexico to form the Muskogee Creek Nation. The Muskogee allied themselves with the British, who set up a trading post here. It was an easy decision. The Spanish forced their religion on the natives and demanded tributes of cattle and corn, while the British presented themselves as equal trading partners. Together, they raided the Spanish missions in Georgia and pushed them back into Florida. But British trade had an equally devastating effect on the Muskogee, who became dependent on manufactured goods. Items were bought on credit, and when payment was demanded and not forthcoming, the British began taking women and children as slaves. This sparked the Yamasee War, and the trading post was destroyed. The trading post is now home to cowbirds. The song sounds like a dripping water sound effect made for an 8-bit video game from the 1980s. It's springtime, and the male is trying to attract the attention of a female. Cowbirds are terrible parents, terrible creatures in general. They're brood parasites. They will scout out another bird's nest to lay their eggs. A robin, a cardinal, it doesn't matter. The aim is to force another bird to raise their offspring. And if the other bird decides to rid their nest of the parasitic egg, cowbirds will come back and murder their chicks. And so, the next generation of cowbirds comes of age. The cycle continues. World can't be anything but what it is. It is what it is. Maybe. Finally, a nature trail. We can substitute the burden of human history with the peacefulness of natural history. Make an attempt to, anyway. Nature can be cruel, but at least it is honest.
We found our way onto a nature trail. Hopefully we'll see some really cool birds, and maybe even an alligator. Fingers crossed.
The dark water is like a glass mirror. Everything has its own immaterial twin. But there should be no question as to which is real. Reality is more than what we can touch. this world, body and soul exist together. I spy an egret across the pond. The great egret is the symbol of the National Audubon Society, one of the oldest environmental organizations in North America. John James Audubon thought egrets were so plentiful in North America that no matter what people did, they would not be able to extinguish the species. Only 50 years after his death, the great egret was on the verge of extinction. Hunted for their feathers, the decorative plumes were a sign of social status and fashion for ladies' hats. The National Audubon Society was founded to protect birds from being killed for their feathers. We are fortunate to be able to see this great egret today. Things could have been different.
Looks like we're almost there. We are going to be climbing the Great Mound here in just a minute.
I'm torn between my contrary experiences. The beautiful and sublime experiences of my hike through the park, and the less than ideal reality of its human history. Mississippian culture was hierarchical. Living on top of the tallest mountains were god kings. Propped up by sycophant priests, the paramount chiefs were considered divine. Taking on the title, the royal great son, the god kings traveled on a canopied litter carried by servants. Tributes, including human sacrifice, would occasionally be demanded of the lower classes. 'Tis a story told 1,000 times over. Civilization is civilization. The parasitic elite always finding ways to con average folk into supporting their extravagant lifestyle. Aristocracy, the original gangsters and grifters. Though I don't necessarily subscribe to Jean-Jacques Rousseau's concept of the noble savage, I do at least partially appreciate the sentiment found in the following quotes. Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Man will only be free when the last king is strangled with the entrails of the last priest. It's not the sentiment, but the expression that I find problematic. A pithy quotation could cut straight to the core. But anyone with any degree of critical thinking can recognize that such hyperbolic reductiveness has a way of only solving one problem by creating another. There is no such thing as thoughtful violence. Violent thought is still violence, both to self and others. And until our world can learn this lesson, I'll prefer to spend my days on the outside periphery. Find places like this, where I can live the rest of my days in peace. Where I can let my spirit soar. There is something in the air. It's a hawk, inviting me to see the bigger picture. It seems to be flying just for the joy of being alive. The last beast in the sky. Following the hawk with my eyes, I start to lose my sense of self. And thankfully, just as my dark optimism has started to take a decidedly darker bent. This is the kind of experience that transcends time and place. Yet I'm here. From here, I can see the funeral mound and the lesser temple mound. Behind me, the earth lodge and the cornfield mound. It turns out that the top of the Great Temple Mound is a wonderful place to find perspective.
Well, it looks like we've made it to the top. Thank you for joining me on this hike through Ocmulgee National Historic Park. I think I deserve a little bit of break. Have something to drink. Check out the sky view for a little bit. Till next time.
There's the Ocmulgee River and Interstate 16. Beyond that, the Macon skyline. Past and present, and perhaps future, all here together. Because Ocmulgee Mounds National Historical Park is in line to be upgraded to a national park and preserve, Georgia's first. And when that happens, Muskogee Creek Nation will return to co-manage the park. The sound of the expressway traffic comes in clear, and it is enough to slowly wake me from the dream. I will need to be heading home now, or at least to the place where I will next hang my hat, until I can get back onto the road again. If you enjoyed this episode, consider supporting this channel by joining me on Patreon. In gratitude, Patreon supporters will receive exclusive benefits. Think about it. So much of the world is turning to AI content. Maybe you value something handmade by an actual human being. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, share, enable notifications, etc. All that stuff helps us beat that devil, the algorithm. Thank you for your support, and have a blessed day.